Frack on. Welcome to the Frack the Canon. I'm joined by the coolest motherfuckers around. I'm joined by CJ McCree. What's up, good sir?
What's up? What's up?
Tyler, Reese, how you doing, sir?
Doing well. Happy to be here.
Been a minute. Alrighty. So we're gonna talk about the latest Marvel movie that came out, Thor 4, Love and Thunder. For the most part, the first time I watched it, I liked it. I watched it again last night. I still liked it, but I can see people's complaints. Now I know why I like this so much. I'll talk about the why. But what were your guys' thoughts, feelings, emotions?
Well, the quickest overview I will give of it is this, I guess. Thor 4 to me feels kind of like a Twinkie, right? Like it is light, it's fluffy, it's sweet. It can be enjoyable a lot, even, you know what I mean? It's not very substantive, if that's what you were looking for, though. I'll cap my first thoughts after that.
Tyler?
Yeah. I was disappointed. Um, Although there were parts that were really good. In a nutshell, for me, Ragnarok hit really well with me, and this didn't hit nearly as well.
Interesting. What did you like about the movie?
Its lack of seriousness, and how some of what it does diminishes, like, just the MCU has serious thing.
But you could say about Ragnarok. So Ragnarok wasn't very serious either. Like I thought there was a lot of like this is really funny,
Yeah.
but the stakes weren't not really that high either. I would argue about that Ragnarok. Um,
Right. I just think this takes it to the next level with Thor 4.
um,
I can argue why, but
go
these are
for it.
just opening statements.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it. What, argue why? Go for it.
Okay. The very end when they're fighting Gore,
Uh-huh.
Thor it goes by himself, and
Uh-huh.
then instead of it being an epic battle with just those two, Thor gives his powers to like 20 kids, and it's like, yeah, we could have done this like 100 different times in the MCU history, and things would have been way different. But it turns out that a bunch of 5 year olds are way more valuable uh, companions in battle than like the likes of Spider Man and Iron Man and Captain America.
I mean, I had a similar thought too, and I do feel similarly to how Tyler's saying. Like, I feel like the sillier, like
Okay.
Ragnarok. I feel like this is almost. It's like Ragnarok times 20 for better and for worse. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like because because you know what I mean. I actually really like Ragnarok a lot too, but I don't think it's a perfect film. There are glaring issues that I have with that film, and I feel like they carried over to this film and were magnified even.
Hmm.
Um, but uh, maybe let's start talking about specific things, right? Like I'll say one of the things I liked about I actually really liked. I was kind of so most of this movie, but like there were jokes that landed and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And the action was pretty spectacular to watch and varied. Um, but I really kind of liked what I didn't expect to like about this movie, which was like the love story between Jane and Thor. I actually kind of that was like the part I enjoyed the most, and I think I enjoyed that part the most because it was the most cohesive thing in the movie. It was like the only thing in the movie, and it didn't necessarily have a narrative story. It was just more like an emotional kind of tale they were telling, which was interesting. But it was the only thing to kind of hold on to and gravitate towards. And because of that, I actually really like that. And then as it gets wrapped up towards the end of the movie, like it was some of the movie that I enjoyed the most and thought was the most well done. Um, but I mean, that's also kind of like how I was like alluding to the Twinkie analogy earlier. You know what I mean? Like a lot of this is just kind of light and fluffy. doesn't necessarily have a lot of substance that, you know what I mean? Like, as far as like, there's not much in the way of story, I felt like. I mean, he kind of kidnaps the kids or whatever, which was like the worst part of Batman Returns, you know what I mean? So, like, why'd they even take that into this, you know what I mean? But no, but I don't know. But that's just kind of some of my overall thoughts. I guess I'll say, I really enjoyed I always enjoy Chris Hemsworth, right? Like he's always good at Thor. It's like he can do that with his eyes closed. I enjoyed Natalie Portman, but I didn't necessarily feel like her what she brought to the table necessarily matched up with Taika's writing all the time. I feel like he has this kind of like punchy kind of timing, and it didn't really necessarily match with some of the lines that she was bringing. I don't know. I don't. Did you guys feel that or?
Mm-hmm.
That's funny because on second viewing, that's what I really assume. Like, this is what I like the most about this movie is the love story of Thor. I like seeing the breakup, and I love kind of seeing the reconciliation. What the word I'm looking for?
Mm-hmm.
But I remember here's what I noticed. Like what I love this movie. What I love about this movie is the hospital scene when she finds out when he tells him, "Don't go, it's killing you more. Don't go to battle." So then her coming back, I thought that was pretty cool. I understand where you guys coming from with the kid stuff. I'm like that was silly. I'm like, all right, finding that I why now too, but fair enough. But I'm like, all right, it's silly. I enjoyed it. And first of all, I forgive it a lot too because it's Thor. I don't give a frack about Thor in the comics. If it were the X-Men or Spider-Man or Daredevil, I would probably be different. But because it's Thor, I'm like, all right, whatever. I really didn't care. But I enjoyed it all. I like saying, okay, I do like this movie. And like you said, CJ, there were some issues too. But I was just having fun. I just had fun with this movie. This one, because it doesn't cure cancer. No.
Neither does Mjolnir.
And I'm like, if it was something different, I probably would have cared a little bit more. But it's Thor 4. Like, how much more can you tell with this character? I'm like, oh, you found a way to make it still kind of fresh. Like there were a lot, like you guys said, there were a lot of moments that I liked that I had fun with, like the sequence in Omnipotent City. That was like, and then Russell Crowe as Zeus killed it. But at the end of the day, I'm like, it's like, yeah, that's the only thing I want to see more of, like that of like you said, CJ, was gore. I want to see more of the God Butcher. Like his reasoning was understandable. I get it. And then the second view, my old Christian Bale killed it.
Yep.
Like he was amazing in that. He was the best thing. And then with Natalie Portman, I could tell she's not a comedic actress. You could tell she's not like she's very much a drama actress, a tragic actress. And I'm like a tragic actress. She focuses, and you know what I'm saying. But yeah, in second viewing, I'm like, yeah, these jokes aren't landing as like they should. Like you could tell she was acting and not being. I don't know if that makes sense. Like she was not being a kid. I don't know.
It kind of fit though for me. Like, it worked for her acting because like she's supposed to be not charismatic and like pretending to be Thor. So I was like, I got it. Like I'm like, oh, you're pretending to be Thor, and this is you thinking you're acting like Thor, and it's like obviously fake. But you know what? I think what would have sold that more is like if Valkyrie and Thor were like, okay. For me, I'm right there with CJ. You know, I know I knocked this movie pretty hard. It's just I don't think Taika gets away with it in this one because it has sticking to the Twinkie analogy, it has so much substance on the plate that just didn't make it into the food because like it like Gore's backstory it just lightning quick, the cold open, and it's like whoa. If you gave that more time or had more moments with Gore instead of doing like what Ragnarok did, which spent most of its time like in Ragnarok, most of its time away from Asgard. In Thor 4, most of its time not with where we're supposed to be.
Who are we supposed to be with?
That's the thing. It feels like we're in like 5 different places. Like I don't even know where we're supposed to be. I just
really.
Yeah.
I didn't get that in the second viewing. I'm like, okay, well maybe because second viewing, but I'm like, okay,
Yeah, I only saw
I
it
got it.
once. Yeah.
Interesting.
But I did love the movie. Gore was great. I'm right there with you too. I surprisingly enjoyed because in the first two, I hated Natalie Portman's character. I hated Jane Foster. Now I like her a lot because of this one montage that did way more for their relational development than whatever other movies they were in together combined. And I was stoked on that, and I was happy they stuck with a death for once in the MCU.
We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see.
Now that we've been
We'll
to
see.
I mean, they
Valhalla.
went to Valhalla though, so like we'll
Yeah.
see.
No, yeah. I mean, yeah. I feel like on the one hand, I feel like Gore is underused. On the other hand, it's like, welcome to the MCU, right? Like freaking, like it's almost like they make a point of like not the only movie that was about a villain was Infinity War. You know what I mean? Like every other movie is about the hero. You know, they focus on even the other Thors as well. You know what I mean? Like they're just kind of about Thor doing this thing and kind of like figuring himself out, you know what I mean? Like, but I completely agree with what you just said. Like, freaking, like, I never got why Thor would like Natalie Portman's character. But like this movie did a great job at like just like explaining that, like, hey, no, like this is why they're together, this is why they were together, you know what I mean? And like telling this like great love story. But yeah, like, hey, his name's Gore the God Butcher, but that's only in comics. They didn't really call him that in this movie. It just, you know, they said that he was butchering gods, you know what I mean? But I would have liked to see that some more. But again, like, you know, like it's a story about Thor. I guess just maybe the story didn't necessarily resonate with me in where Thor is, because Thor is kind of lost in this movie at the beginning of the movie, you know what I mean? Like trying to figure himself out, you know what I mean? And like that is pretty much so stylistically maybe that's the right choice, but it wasn't a choice that like I enjoyed or vibed with me or caught my attention to keep me along with this movie. I do overall like the movie, like I said, but it's like I barely like this movie. You know what I mean? Like I like it. You know what I mean? Like, but it's like it's kind of like mid Marvel for me. Like it's enjoyable enough to like not hate it. Um, Christian Bale is great, right? Like I love Christian Bale. You know what I mean? I think he sold every moment he was in. You know what I mean? But see, my thing about Marvel, and I do agree to some of the points that that Tyler was making earlier. Like some of the silliness does kind of like break some Marvel logic a little bit, but it is like it's a reality of what we're dealing with, like a property that's so huge that spans multiple franchises, that spans all this. Like you can't like freaking fact check everything, but it is kind of like, oh, okay, like he can like grant all these kids powers. Then like, what about in Endgame when everybody was fighting Thanos and like Tony literally had to die? Like, did you know you could freaking? Did you know you could give other people your powers if they were holding something? You know what I mean? At that moment. You know what I mean? But like, freaking, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's,
I'm sorry. It took me a minute to register where that's from. Say it again, but say that with Thor.
but like, also like, freaking, what's what's the thing that God is trying to get to, right?
Eternity.
The Make a Wish and everything is great, right? Like, freaking, did Thanos not know about that? Like, so many people knew about that in this movie. I feel like even Thor knew exactly how to get there. You know what I mean? Like, freaking.
It's true.
Thanos is not a god, though.
You said what?
Thanos is not a god. Maybe it was only the gods, though.
Hey, oh, okay. Oh, listen, I'll give you that, right? But he literally choked Loki to death. Like, you don't think Thanos could have beat that information out of one of these gods? You know what I mean? Like, freaking, like,
Right, but like his thing was the Infinity Stones, though.
yeah, because he didn't know that there was a secret Make a Wish in half the galaxy.
I think you said your question.
Yeah, well, it seemed so easy. It seemed like knowledge so easy. Valkyrie seemed to know about it, and she's not a god. You know what I mean? Like, freaking.
I got you.
Like it seemed like knowledge that was just readily available to anybody in this movie who wanted to know it. And like I said, like freaking, why in the history of all eternity, is Gore the first one to try this? You know what I mean? Like, why in the history of all eternity is Gore the first one to be like, oh yeah, let me just go to this thing that you know what I mean? That like,
To quote,
but
to quote pitch meeting. So the movie could happen.
Yeah, and not only that, that it's
But here's the thing, though. No,
stuff
here's the
that
thing I
everyone knew
noticed.
about. It.
The Necrosaur was something I'm watching. Sorry, to get you off, Tyler. The
Oh no,
Necrosaur
yeah,
told
just a
him,
quick point. Not only is it stuff everybody knows about, stuff everybody easily gets to. Like at the end, Natalie Portman's Jane Foster gets there in like a second, like going from "I'm in my deathbed" to "Hey, I'm here," and it's like we spent the whole movie trying to get here. Now we're just here. That's all.
Eddie,
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
final thoughts?
No, you were saying. I want to hear what you want to say too.
I did say it was the Necrosaur told him, tells Gore.
Oh, it did.
oh,
Yeah,
told Gore where to go. Told Gore where to go.
Final thoughts. I never thought I would say this, but there was too much Guns N' Roses in this movie. It was like 8 songs. It was like a whole
Really?
album of Guns N' Roses.
I
Yeah,
just noticed too.
yeah.
Now on that, I have to disagree on that. And I'm not even a classic rock guy, but I enjoyed all the song inserts in there.
Yeah, I like the classic rock. It's just too much of one band. I'm like, go on, mix it up. He probably had some deal or something. Because the kid's name was Axel. Like, you change his name.
Yeah.
What's his name, son?
Heimdall's son.
Yeah, Heimdall's son. Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
I liked it. I had fun. To give you my, this is it is what it is. It's. I think my favorite out of all of them is still Thor 1, but I still like this one a lot, personally.
I feel like it could be like a failure of the marketing department. You know what I mean? Like maybe they could have marketed this as like a balls to the wall comedy a little bit more. You know what I mean? Like freaking.
Agreed. I still like it though. I said, yeah. I guess no more. With that silence, we'll sign off. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, CJ. It's your same bracket time, same bracket channel. Frack off.